Hi, welcome to Utter Tribe with your host, Yaz
and Steph, and we're bringing you Confessions of a Raw-Fed Dog Mum.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Utter Tribe. I'm your host, Yaz.
And I'm Steph, and we're bringing you Confessions of a Raw-Fed Dog Mum.
So today's topic could potentially be a little bit spicy.
I think it is a lot spicy.
A lot spicy, and I can't even handle a korma.
I can get a taker or something. Be all right.
Yeah, Adam has to ring the takeaway and ask for them to take the spice out the korma.
I think we could
Say again.
Could be at a Vindaloo here.
This is Vindaloo territory or a Rogan Josh because I've heard they're spicy. Okay, so today's topic of conversation is adopt or shop. Dun dun dun! Because even though me and Steph align on 99.9% of things, this is something where we sit in very different camps. So we thought actually it'd be quite prudent to discuss this. Prudent is like my word of the month. I don't know if you can tell.
Word of your month at the minute.
It is. I'm really enjoying it. So, Steph, you give a little bit of background to you, and then I'll give a little bit of background to me and why you sit in which camp, and then we'll discuss it from there.
Okay, so I've always been very lucky to have multiple dogs in the family since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. And we were a family, or our family, that has been heavily involved in the farming side of the community from both sides of my family, as well as the working side, so the gun dog side. And we have always had gun dogs for as long as I can remember. There is pictures of me as a fetus with gun
as a fetus on the back of a Labrador.
A young fetus on the back of a Labrador. Yeah, so that's always been all I've ever known, really, to be honest. And very lucky to be able to have multiple dogs. When I say multiple, usually, I mean, right now is the lowest number I can ever remember, the amount of dogs that we've had. So, and I wouldn't say it's considerably low, it's 8 dogs in total. So, yeah, we're very, very lucky. Although the breeds have shifted slightly in later years. We've moved away from Labradors and Spaniels, and I got a Dachshund, and then suddenly I kept opening doors and there was more Dachshunds. So they got up to 7 in the dizzy heights. And yeah, so for my background and the way I've been, we've always either bought a pedigree working dog or bred our own line, and I have a lineage of Labradors and obviously subsequently Dachshunds. So we've actually never adopted a dog or or another animal.
Have you not even another animal?
I can't say we've ever. I mean, no, I can't say I have.
Okay.
And I don't know. I know why that is, because obviously when I was looking, or when the family's looking for a set purpose dog, so obviously we needed a gun dog. So you choose your breed, and we went with Labrador, for example. I need something that is obviously is going to be good at its job. It has the natural intuition that is built into those breeds. So a collie has a natural ambition to want to round things up and herd things. So if I sent a Dachshund out, they'd just scatter everywhere because they just want to grab onto things. And and it's that type of thing. So the breeds have, and we're very lucky to be able to pull out these traits in these breeds to go far and wide to cover, which is why there is 7 groups now with the dogs. And so it's been one of those. And obviously if you hit on something that's really good, and we wanted to pass or try to pass that genetic makeup down onto the next generation, that's the end goal, really. For us is obviously for us, health has always been a massive thing. So testing and obviously only breeding from animals that we deem fit. Every single thing that is ever on the planet has got its bad points, and I think to be constructive, you must know what those are to be able to move forward with your breeding program, if you like. And when I say breeding program, I'm a very I don't know what the word is, but if you had a litter of anything, you're a breeder. However, it's a case of, we aren't pumping dogs out from bitches that are just continually being used. It's, we may only take 1 or 2 litters from that bitch a lifetime. So that's where we are.
So for me, I don't fully sit in the other camp. I'm kind of like, I've got a foot in both camps. So before the dogs that I had now, Snoopy was from Dogs Trust, so he's a rescue dog. Penny was I bought her from a woman who wanted rid of her in Wakefield. And was she a rescue? No, the woman wasn't a rescue. The woman was a breeder who had just had enough of her. So technically she wasn't adopted, she wasn't rescued. I bought that dog. Then unfortunately, which seems really horrible to say because I'm just looking at Lily now. Penny had an accidental litter. She was booked in for a spay 3 times. She kept coming into season early, so it got pushed back, and she got caught. The vet said she can either have an injection now for an abortion, because I never wanted to breed off that dog ever, because I didn't want to breed off her. And they said she can either have the injection now, or you can wait 4 weeks, because there's no such thing as a pregnancy test for dogs, which just absolutely baffles me. Did the scan at 4 weeks, saw 3 heartbeats, and he said, so you've got a choice. You either let her go full term, or we can spay her now, and obviously that will abort the fetuses. And I couldn't fucking do it. So Penny went on to have 3 babies. She ended up having to have an emergency C-section because it was Lily that got stuck in the birth canal, and we lost Penny 3 days afterwards. So the title of breeder for me is one that I'm not proud of. It's not one that I like to talk about, but I have that title. That is, regardless of whether it was planned or not, I have had a litter of puppies off a bitch and paid the biggest price because I lost my girl. So with I kept Rodney and Lily. There was another puppy in the litter that went to a friend of mine, and that was that. And I carried a lot of guilt, and still do carry a lot of guilt about it. So I was like, right, how do I set balance back in this world again? By bringing these lives into the world, I've taken one out. So I need to, for my own, I don't know what it is. It's like my cross to bear. I was like, right, I'm going to start fostering rescue dogs. So I started fostering Romanian rescue dogs who come from the most horrific conditions. Again, we could do a whole other podcast about why people rescue from overseas versus English, whatever. And And Peggy came with another dog called Polly because her fosterer pulled out last minute. So I was like, I'm not having Peggy walk off and leaving Polly behind. They'd been together happily for months. I was like, I'm not splitting them up. So Polly got rehomed and little Peggy the potato stayed with me. So I've then gone on to foster. Let me think. So there was Peggy, who's a failed foster, Polly, then there was Annie and Olive, the puppies. They were just, oh my God, they were so gorgeous. And then there was Tycho. That was my last foster that I had. I would recommend fostering to anyone. It is time consuming and incredibly heartbreaking, but being that stepping stone from hell to home is just it's phenomenal. There's nothing else like it. Seeing a dog so shut down kind of come out of their shell, it's a really like breathtaking experience to be a part of. And then with my other animals, so guinea pigs. So I've actually bought all of my guinea pigs. Lupin and Tyrion I bought from Pets at Home. They were my first. Then the girls that came after about 6 months afterwards, when the boys were neutered, I bought as they were ex breeding sows.
Yeah.
That the breeder was like, oh, I just want to put them in a pet home now, and I was like, okay. Both in no, actually, Rosie was incredibly ill. She'd been bred too much on, in my opinion, anyway. But bad health, but I loved her all the same. And then Nancy, I got her from a pet shop in Cass Market. She was on her own, so I bought her, but in my eyes, I rescued her because she came from absolute shithole. And then trying to get a rescue guinea pig, they were always. I was like, I've got one sow. I either want a neutered boar or another sow, and they would not let me adopt a single pig. They were like, no, you have to have two. And I was like, I hear what you're saying, because obviously piggies can't live on their own. I was like, here's a picture of Nancy. Can I have one? They're like, no, it's just you can only have two. So I was like, well, I don't want to. I just because then it starts spiraling. If you have three, then you might as well have six. So I was really adamant that I just wanted two to try and control myself. So I ended up getting Patty from a pet shop, even though it was kind of against everything in my being to do so, but she's happy, healthy. Christ knows what lineage she has in her, but I wasn't buying her for that. I was just buying her as a pet to keep Nancy company. So for me, I used to have a really big problem with breeders, and that's no disrespect to you at all. There's no disrespect intended. I'm just kind of just gonna say it how I felt it was. I was like, how is it that, I mean, I wasn't thinking of responsible breeders. I was thinking of the ones who get a bitching season and bang, 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 they just bash out litters. I was like, why did they deserve to live and make money off that when I lost my girl and I didn't want to make a single penny? Didn't want to make a single penny. But I can't deny that I really enjoyed the pregnancy journey with Penny. It was really special. And feeling those, God, it's going to catch me off guard again. Feeling those babies in her tummy was it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. And even though she only had 3 days to be a mum, I just was in complete awe. Like, they're just hearing a little puppy kind of feed on mum. It's just, it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And handling tiny, tiny babies, it's so precious. It really is special. But we were talking earlier, and I said, knowing what I know now, like, I will, in my household, if I can, like, there will never be another soul born in this house. Nowhere. And I said I would really love to have a black standard poodle. I would absolutely love to have a black standard poodle. However, I know I'll never have one because I look at Peggy and there's 25,000 other Peggies waiting for their chance. So I know that I won't. And it's like, is it the end of the world? No, because I'm not planning on, I just want them as pets. However, sorry, I'll stop talking. You talk about the point you were making about adopting pedigree dogs.
Yeah, so when we were talking about this earlier, I'd said that you shouldn't feel guilty for not having your dream dog or your dream cat or your ferret or whatever it is. There shouldn't be guilt attached to that. I have the utmost respect for anybody who is in the fostering, adoption, the safeguarding, whether you're in this country or another country, whether you are, stopping dogs going into the meat trade, whatever it is, you honestly are walking.
Say that bit again, your signal went.
So I was just saying the people who are involved around adoption, safeguarding, or all of the rest of it in this country or another are walking angels, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. They are people who are sent here to do above and beyond what we are designed on this earth to do. And what's really, really sad, and what I would love to have introduced into this country around the world, is actual more licensing structures to own animals.
Yes, 100%.
And this would actually safeguard our pets and those animals around the world, whether you're here or there, stopping them ending up on the streets, in meat trade, being abandoned. I've changed my sofa and it doesn't match, all that kind of bullshit. To be honest with you, if I met somebody like that, I would run them over in a heart. I would go down for murder. However, that's not what I'm about. And my dogs that I've ever bred have a home for life, and that doesn't matter how old they are or what crippling condition they may come back with. For example, I know somebody that had a dog that they'd moved and they lived in Scotland, and this dog fell over and in a sense completely damaged their spinal column. And this person who obviously bred the dog went and picked that dog up and remortgaged their house and is continuing to fix that dog because the person that it was living with couldn't afford it and was going to put the dog to sleep. So when I say, hand on heart, that any dog that has ever had anything to do with me can always come home, I genuinely mean that. And it break my heart to know that somebody's gone into a rescue or been given to a new home. Like that to me is part of the trust, where you find a home and it's a home for life. However, tragic circumstances happen, and the home is always my home, if that makes sense.
I think with Lily and Rodney's brother, it's I made a contract saying he's not to be bred from, he has to be neutered. Wrongly at 6 months, it should have been later, but you do the best you can with the information you have at the time. But I was so desperate for these dogs not to reproduce, and also if for whatever reason she didn't want him anymore, couldn't look after him, couldn't afford him, whatever, he has to come back to me. He has to, like you say, he has to come home again. But I think that's the difference with a responsible breeder and an irresponsible breeder, because sometimes they can kind of get put under the same umbrella and actually they're worlds apart. So say for example, Noosh, our ferret breeder, so if I can, I will rescue, I will adopt. But I was like, do you know what? I don't feel that if I were to just adopt a rescue ferret, that I would be doing it justice because I've never had a ferret before and I really don't want to get this wrong. And that's why I went to Noosh, who's got generations of raw fed, pedigree, good health lines. She sadly just lost one of her ferrets, who we'll have to check if as a part of the same lineage. But he was 11 years old. That is an absolutely superb age for a ferret. And she put some pictures up with from I think the day before or the evening before he passed or whatever, and he still looked fabulous. Like, it wasn't a case that she kept him going longer than he needed to. It was just his time. So it's like, yes, we did pay what people may consider daft money for a ferret, but we're paying for the amount of time and effort she's put into these lines. So I can now appreciate that I've bought from really good pedigree lines of ferrets, and I got what I paid for, even if Pan does crave violence. But she's getting better though. She's getting better.
That's a very interesting point, because obviously the reason why we've chosen to obviously ultimately at the start of it buy from people who have generations of lines, so we've bought a dog that's been bred for a purpose, is because if the requirements that I would need or what we would be looking for are so pinpointed, asking for that to, you know, set of what I, you know, the within the parameter of what I'm looking for from a rescue would be, I think, looking for a needle in a
haystack.
and on haystack, which,
like, I've talked about it with Adam before. I was like, about I would love standard. It used to be a black lab, but with my work, it's the same with German Shepherds. Like, I'd love a German Shepherd, but they are German Shepherds and Labradors. They're just too poorly. I see them. They are just too poorly. They're not. As much as I love them, they're not for me. And that's not to say that poodles are completely, what's the word I'm looking for? Isolated from having issues. But I don't see them. You take your own personal experiences, don't you? So I had a look because I thought, if I was going to pay good money for a good pedigree of poodle, there are so many boxes that breeder would have to tick before I'd even consider buying from a breeder. So I'd want a delayed vaccination protocol. I'd want at least a minimum 3 generations of raw fed. I'd want hip scores as well. If you look on oh god, what's it called? Champ Dog, there is, I think, one poodle out of all of the poodles on there that's got good hips. And you're not going to find anything that's perfect, and I understand that you have to it takes generations to fix something, but for me, I'd rather wait 20 years. Let's see how they look there rather than buying in up here. That's me personally. That's what I do.
You have to know the faults and flaws as well as really good attributes things are moving forward with. So if I find something and I have a bitch and I don't see, I've been very not lucky. That is a crap word to use. I've been lucky with I've had, and we bought a Labrador that I'd sold. That I sold a Labrador to them years back, and it was like her great Sky's great niece, and I took her for her eye testing and she failed.
Oh shit.
Now, you cannot fail a dog with clear parents.
Okay.
So somewhere along the lines there's been a fudged. eye test.
That's the thing. It's the same with hips as well. Like, you can manipulate the positioning of the dog or whatever. I mean, it'd have to be someone being dishonest, which does happen. That's not me vet bashing. It happens. You can manipulate the way the dog is positioned to make the x-rays look better than what they actually are. So I know that some people have waited years for a beautiful pedigree, good lines, and then they've got a dog that unfortunately does have a condition. Just it's a game of chance. You're working on odds. It's not a guarantee. When people buy, say, cockapoos, they think, oh, it's a cocker and a poodle. You know, that you're watering down the chances of them highlighting the bad qualities in each of them, when actually you're not. You're splitting the odds between the litter of who's going to get it. So there's going to be some that get it, there's going to be some that don't get it, and there's going to be some that maybe it doesn't show as well, but they carry that. So if you were to breed them,
well, it's like the PRI test that Dachshunds have, and you get clear carrier and affected.
right?
I'm very lucky. All my dogs are clear. They're hereditary clear. So they've come from clear parents who have come from clear grandparents, and so on and so forth. However, I still have them because I want to make sure. And it's like when you've got a solid ground that you're working on, it just ends up on the pedigree that it says hereditary clear.
Yeah.
Because once you've proved it, you can't. There is no like genetic mutation come up in the background. So I could breed a clear and an affected, which they do have it, and they will go blind.
Right.
And the puppies would be carriers.
And right, okay. So then, if the carriers bred with someone that was clear,
they would be carriers. So there would be a split list.
Right. Okay, I'm with you. So it's like watering down the bad attributes.
I've never known anybody use a affected dog. They must be exceptional circumstances, and I don't possibly think they exist, to use an affected dog, because there are so many decent clear and carrier dogs that there would be no possible reason, in my opinion, that you would need to use something that is affected,
especially for dachshunds. I mean, like they're not like a rare or protected breed in this country. There are some breeds that are rare or endangered. I think it's Dandy Dinmonts. I'm pretty sure Dandy Dinmonts. There's bearded collies as well.
They're on there.
Yeah. So there's like a few like rare breeds, and I think with
you met on.
I was gonna say I used to know a breeder of, I won't say the breed of dog, but it was a breed of dog, lovely dogs, and they were a rare or endangered breed or whatever. So the lines were obviously limited, but those lines carried a really hideous disease called thrombocytopenia, which affects blood clotting. So it's horrific. It is an absolute horrific disease. And I just couldn't get my head around using lines that carried thrombocytopenia. And I thought that was a disservice. I mean, if she listened to this podcast, she would drive to my house and stab me. Like, because she was just off her head anyway. But I couldn't understand that. Like, there's a difference between a blood clotting disease and blindness. Do you know what I mean? Like, blindness you can live with. Can you live with your blood not clotting properly? No.
very, very difficult. And this is where people have different standards that they account themselves and hold themselves to.
Yeah,
And
it's like it's a balance of risk. You know, what risks are you willing to take? For that, I could not understand that. I couldn't get that.
time you choose to breed any animal, you've taken a risk.
Mm.
And that is something that should never be taken lightly. It's not,
No.
you know, not a case of people. I mean, there is people out there that don't care.
Yeah, of course there is.
Sadly, I would say that they are the ones that are hitting the limelight, if you like, for all the wrong reasons. And
Yes.
these people, they do need to be stopped. You know, dogs are not there to make money. And actually, for me, whenever I had a litter, it was with the intention for me to keep a puppy. So
Yeah.
I wanted the next generation for myself. So
Mhm.
I selfishly had a litter so that I could move on with what I was doing. So either in the show world or whether I was out on the working lines, because I wanted that generation to go again, because it was
Mhm.
stupendous. And the rest of it was sort of like our puppies were booked before even the mating took place.
Yeah.
We were very different in that respect. And also, when it came to, oh, can I come and choose my puppy? No, actually, you can't. We did the guide dog testing. So all the puppies were tested on their own merit for different things. They all came to a score. We met the families. We got a real grasp of them. And then we introduced them to the puppies that may be suitable for them. And we've even swapped puppies in the past, where I've said, you can't take that one, but this one is suitable.
Yeah. To make sure that you're pairing them up as best you can. Because they do that. Some rescues do that, and they pair you up with with the dog that they think suitable, and then some rescues are rescues can be just as scrupulous as you know, breeders. So there's people who are breeding back to back, back to back, back to back, back to back. No health tests. You know, I mean, I could get into all of that, but we'll save that for another time. But rescues can be just as scrupulous. You have to remember that a charity, at the end of the day, is a business. It's still a business. It still has bills to pay. It has things to do. And just with my experiences with working in rescues before, it's probably not something that I would do again. I would absolutely foster again, though. Absolutely foster again. Probably it's probably going to be a few years, though, to be honest, because I feel like I've done my stint. I've almost made it even in the world with what happened with Penny. And I've done my bit, and they're in their homes, they're living their life, and they're having a great time. So, because as well, I have to remember, if something goes wrong in that foster home, they'll ping back to me, even if it's temporarily. There is the chance that they ping back to me, or they'll ping back into the rescue. I haven't even kind of I've touch wood never had that situation, but it's a situation that could occur. So yeah, fostering I will absolutely do again, but it's just I'm enjoying my dogs at the moment, and I'm enjoying showing my ferrets. I'm really enjoying showing my ferrets, and I have a lot of issues with the dog showing world. Again, that could be a whole other podcast. With ferret showing world, I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. I love showing my ferrets. I think they're gorgeous. I love it. You know, like me and you get to spend the day together, and we're surrounded by other people who are obsessed with stinky noodles as well. And because I know that I was like, right, I'll get these two, and then anything else I get is going to be a rescue ferret. And I thought, after an incident at said ferret show where a woman got mauled on the face, I was like, that has really rocked my confidence, especially because the woman who was running the rescue was pairing ferrets off with people who'd never been around ferrets before, and one was called Nipper, and I was like, that's not fair. That is not fair to do that to someone. It's that bleeding heart. You're pulling on the heartstrings, and then putting a dog, a ferret, a cat, or whatever, with someone who's completely ill-equipped to deal with it.
It isn't fair, and actually, in many ways, if the people who were breeding the dogs or cats or ferrets or whatever, took the time, as some of the, how do I want to word this? You know, you've got different levels of breeder, and if we educated the public to what they were buying, the arena of the breeders would vanish overnight. People wouldn't buy them, and if they didn't buy them, no market for it.
Yeah.
And if there's no market for it, there's no need.
It's because I think we live in a society, and it's that Amazon Prime next day delivery society. It used to be, and still is, completely normal to wait years for a particular mating, for you would wait. Whereas now people are like, oh, it's a Saturday afternoon, I think I might fancy a puppy. And they go on the internet and bang, there they are. Now, I can't berate those people. I got Penny next day. I saw the advert and I was like, I'd been looking for a long time for her, or for a dog. We'd been to, I remember going to a rescue kennels, which has been shut down now, but I went to this kennels and I said, I've got a beagle. We definitely want a bitch. We want something that's smaller than him because he's blind. So we don't want a dog that's going to be bouncing all over him. So he brought out a dog that he said was a staffy, and it had mastiff in it. It was massive. And I was like, that's far too big. Then he brought out a spaniel that looked like it hadn't been outside for 3 days. So it was just, when they're like that, looking around. And I was like, and he was like, oh, I've got a family coming for her tomorrow, but if there's a rescue, you clearly are some kind of place to take strays to, or people to hand over dogs, so you can carry the title of a rescue. But this isn't what rescue's founded on. You're not doing this out of the goodness of your heart. You're doing this to get a quick turnover of dogs. So then I carried on looking, and then I saw her advert and just fell in love.
And that's the thing. There is good and bad in everything, and
you have to shop responsibly, and you have to adopt responsibly as well. Everything has to be done responsibly. There's good and bad in both camps.
On 100%. I mean, just going back to the ferret scenario, I'd been watching the breeder of our ferrets for years.
Yeah, you'd been watching her for ages, haven't you?
Contact enough to actually put me on the list, because I want to see our consistency year on year. I want to see these ferrets that had been bred. I wanted to see what they were like when they were in the new homes, when they'd grown up. I wanted to see consistency of what they've been fed, how they've been treated, what sort of home they were being brought up into. Was it a one-off? Is it random pictures that we're using from times gone by that we're just recirculating year on year? What am I seeing, and is it real? Is what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
And I just watched.
Yeah.
And I watched and I watched, and I've been banging on about this breeder. I'm going to get one of these. I'm going to get one of these. And as it turned out, I got 3 of them, and they're absolutely delightful.
They're gorgeous. And then I was like, I really like these stinky noodles. So I got in contact with her and said, we're looking for 2 Jills. If you don't have 2 Jills, I'm going to wait until next year. Can I go on the waiting list?
Yeah.
And that's when she said she had a Jill, but then she had another Jill because I think someone had backed out or something, like they had a reserve, but there was something had gone off. So that's me coming home with Pan and Moo Moo. And adore every stinky fibre of their being. I just, oh God, I love them. I absolutely love them. I am desperate for more, but it's a good job that Adam doesn't listen to this podcast. I think he do be killing me. I think he do be killing me. Listen, I think we've been going for 40 minutes.
Go on.
But obviously, this podcast isn't intended to offend anyone, but we were just talking about it this morning, and I was like, no, we need to stop talking about it now. We need to put this on the podcast because it's important. It's something to promote conversation and just kind of let you know where we sit, really.
I am fully supportive of what everybody's doing, unless it's a greeter.
Hate them greeders. We should do a thing about how to spot a greeder.
Yeah.
Or a greeder or a grescue.
Yeah.
Oh God, we could do that.
I've been many places with many people to look at puppies in the past, and I've been like, can we have conversation out in the car? And the breeder, whatever, has gone, no, have it here. And I'm like, hun, I don't think you're gonna like what I have to say, so if you don't mind, we'll have 5 minutes. And yeah, I've made people walk away.
Yeah. You've got to think with your head, not your heart. Saying that, I'm just looking at Peggy the potato right now, and she's just looking delicious.
When people go and see a puppy, it's very difficult to walk away.
Yeah, of course it is.
Because they pull on your heartstrings, but that's not why you're not going to back. You know, puppies don't stay puppies forever. You need something that's going to be solid, that actually is going to be able to live a very fulfilled, happy life, and a very fulfilled long life. That's the idea. That's what we want. Things, shit happens in between that change the core life. However, if you're starting on sand foundations, you cannot build.
Yeah. I'm just looking at Peggy. She says she's going to live forever. She's like, oh. Love her. So yeah, there you go, guys. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will catch you next week.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell to keep up to date with our latest raw adventures.